Does that say PUJH? I hope I don't have to push it home later. I'm going to cut this open so you can see how it's packaged. If you cut a bike box like this with a razor knife, just make sure you open it up from the top first and make sure you're not hitting any tires or wires or anything mission critical like that. And they actually recommend you keep every e-bike box for at least 30 days, just in case you would have to return something. But for display purposes, so I can show you what this looks like inside, I'm going to cut it. This knife is dull. So there's what it looks like packaged inside. We've got our seat here, an extra box, I'm not sure what's in there, another box. We'll go through what's in all the boxes as I unpack it, but right now I'm going to let her drop. Comes with an extra Chow Yang inner tube. I really shouldn't have made fun of their name to begin with. That's nice. I've never seen that with any other bikes. I mean, that is nice unless they're expecting an inner tube to fail. I'm going to go with this nice. This little mystery box here is the headlight. While we're going through boxes, let's pop this one open and see what's in here. We get a phone holder, user manual. It says electric bike display. The brand for the bike display is Yolan. Electric bicycle user manual. About PUJH. It's an about card. El Cheapo bike pump. Looks like phone cables. A handheld fan. What? In case the wind is not enough to keep you cool. I don't know. I hope there's an ashtray in here too. Bike lock, that's nice. A lot of this stuff is actually really cool. We've got our charging cable. Charging cable is a 2 amp charger, and I believe this is a 17 or a 17.5 amp hour battery that it comes with, so it's a pretty big battery. So divide that by half, it's going to be about 8.5 hours to charge this from completely dead to completely full. That's the downside of a really big battery. Pedals, Allen wrench tool, an extra set of disc brakes, awesome, and a wrench, and zip strips. Alright, based on the weight, this does legit feel like about a 17.5 amp hour battery, so that's good. And it is marked on here saying that it is a 17.5 amp hour battery, and it's a high-long, so about middle of the road. It's not a super generic battery, but not a top quality like a Samsung either. So this bike's pretty lightweight. This battery should take this bike pretty far. Another thing that I forgot to mention that I don't want to forget to mention in this video is that this battery is a 5-pin high-long form factor, so you can get another third-party battery for this bike really easy and fairly cheap if you would want to. I stopped in the shade here to do a walk around of the bike. It's like 90 degrees out today, but I wanted to show everything that the bike has to offer. And like I said, it's a plain Jane bike, but the things that it does well, it does really well. And for what you get out of this bike, to me, this is kind of the e-bike that I wanted when I first started e-biking. But anyway, we'll go through and I'll show everything that the bike has to offer right now. Like I said, a lot of it is just very plain Jane. These kind of controls up here we've seen before. It does have a front derailleur and 3 gears in the front, in addition to the 7 that it's got in the back. So it's a 21 speed. This is the screen. We've seen this plenty of times before. The bike came with this phone holder, and it's actually a pretty nice little phone holder. Not bad at all. Basic Shimano controls, quarter twist throttle over here. And what I like about this bike a lot is that it's got these tall 29-inch wheels. Couple that with the lightweight 50-pound weight of the bike and the 17.5 amp hour battery, and if you're riding this even somewhat mindfully, you're going to be able to go and go and go on this bike. I did 2 sets of range tests. My first range test, I ran the bike flat out, all out at its top speed the entire time, full throttle the entire time, and I got 18, just over 18 miles out of it. Had to stop for a tractor. But anyway, as I was saying, with the tall wheels, the 17.5 amp hour battery, and the lightweight build of this bike, I was able to get really good range out of it. I took the bike on 2 range tests. The first range test, I ran it flat out, top speed the entire time, and I went just over 18 miles, and when I was done, I had 2 bars of battery left. I did another ride where I went 40 miles in pedal assist level 3 at like 15 miles per hour, and I got back with, I think, 2 bars, maybe 1 bar left. I can't remember, but I'll put those stats on the screen right here, and I've got video of that event. Anyway, I can't say enough how much I like this bike, because to me, it's not about speed with a bike. I ride these casual trails here, and I like a casual ride. I don't have to go top speed all the time, but I do want a lot of range, because when I come out here and get my piece in, I want to be able to go and ride all day long and have a lot of, and be able to get a lot of riding in. And with this bike, I'm able to do that. We got our standard e-bike headlights, and there's what it looks like with the headlight on. And we've also got a tail light back here that doubles as a brake light. We've got cable-driven disc brakes that looks like they say Speed brand on them. So they're pretty generic disc brakes, but they get the job done. This is not a bike that I would use for city commuting. It just doesn't have the get up and go that you would need, but for getting up to speed and then maintaining the speed, the bike does a great job of that. So for like these trails like this, it's kind of a perfect bike. There are only a few things that I would change about it. One, this seat, for the kind of like long range all day riding that I do, I would want something a little bit wider than this, but if you're going to keep your rides under, say, 15-20 miles, this is going to be just fine. And I would also change out these handlebars for something just a little bit wider. They're plenty comfortable enough, but for the long range riding that this bike is built for, a little bit more comfort would be definitely better. But overall, bike is great. I mean, I would say it's got cheap tires on it. I would change those out, but I would just run those raw before I change them out. Other than that, the bike is just awesome. I love this rack that you get, and so it's not the best bike ever built, but I would say that for the price that you're getting it for, and for what you're getting out of it, it's pretty damn good. All right, this is going to be a fairly short ride, because this is the 3rd ride that I've taken this bike on. I've been riding it a lot because I really like riding it. This is kind of everything that I wanted in an e-bike, and this is what I wish I would have bought when I bought my first e-bike, because at $750, this thing's pretty damn good. I've done 2 long rides on this bike already. Both were range tests. The first one that I did was a riding it at top speed range test. And if you ride the bike at top speed with a full battery charge, you're going to get about 25 miles if you weigh as much as I do. That's at about 26 to 28 miles per hour. If you ride conservatively in pedal assist level 3, which is around 15, 16 miles per hour, you're going to get, I got 40 miles on 3 bars, that's having 2 bars left. So if you would have gone through those other 2 bars, you probably got like 50 to 55 miles out of a full battery charge on this bike. And that is if you weigh 200 pounds like I do. If you weigh less than that, you'll get more. Anyway, with this bike having the tall wheels, the big battery, and the lightweight frame that it has, it really economizes the battery life. So for somebody who's looking to go out and ride all day, this is going to be the perfect bike for them, as long as they're tall enough to ride it. It is a 29-inch bike, so you know, throwing your leg over this thing, if you're under, say, 5'7", it's going to start to get challenging for shorter riders. I'm 5'10", bike fits me just perfectly. I would say that it's going to accommodate fairly tall riders too. I don't know exactly how tall, but I would say up into, you know, 6'4", 6'3", probably in that range is going to be able to ride this bike comfortably. Any taller than that, you might start pulling away the other direction. But anyway, overall the bike is awesome, and I have a lot of fun riding this thing, and I really enjoy just how practical it is. I love how lightweight it is. I can grab this bike and just manhandle it, throw it around, and take it where I want to take it, and not worry about killing my shoulders. This season so far, I've been testing a lot of heavy folding bikes and some powerful 60-volt bikes and moped style bikes and things like that, and just lifting the things and moving them around, it gets a little bit rough at times. And this one's kind of a double-edged sword. It's very lightweight. I can just grab it and throw it where I need to throw it, but it takes up a lot of space height-wise, so I can't just stand it up in my van, so there is that. If you got a bike rack on the back of your vehicle and you're looking for a lightweight e-bike, this is going to be perfect for that. As I mentioned, I like riding this bike on these kind of trails. This bike has a decent top speed. It gets up to about 28 miles per hour, but it creeps up there kind of slowly. There's no doubt in my mind that it has like at least a 1,000-watt motor in it, but turning these 29-inch wheels from a stop does prove a bit of a challenge for this bike. And after I get past this stop sign up here, we'll do some speed and acceleration tests with this bike. All right, here we go. I'm going to take off just from a stop and not do any kind of pedal assist. Let me get it in like 4th gear and see what it's like to ride this bike just under my own power. And really, it's not bad at all. If I had to pedal this without the battery, I'd be all right. Not that I think that this 17.5 amp hour battery is going to run out anytime soon, but if it did run out, pedaling this bike like a normal bicycle really isn't that bad. Anyway, let's go up into 7th gear and go through the pedal assist levels now. Going up into pedal assist level 1, I definitely felt it kick in, but once you get these wheels rolling, it doesn't take much effort to move them, so pedal assist level 1 doesn't really do much for you if you're already acclimated to riding. Let's go up into pedal assist level 2. There we go. Big difference there. And that takes us up to about 13 miles per hour, and I'm casually pedaling and still putting a little bit back into the ride, but the motor is definitely doing a little bit more of the work now. Pedal assist level 3, and that's where it kicks in pretty hard, and this is where I'm starting to get into the realm of ghost pedaling. I'm still pedaling and putting a little bit into it, so I am able to economize some of that battery life a little bit, but for the most part, the motor is doing most of the work at this point. And this is where I like to ride this bike, where I can get a little bit of some casual exercise in on an all-day ride, but the bike is doing most of it right now. Pedal assist level 4. And it's taking us up to about 21 on the speedometer, 20 on GPS, and this is where I'm really getting into, I'm kind of ghost pedaling now. There's not really much that I'm adding into the ride at this point. I'm still moving my legs, I'm still pedaling, but the bike is pretty much doing all the work at this point. And pedal assist level 5. And this is where I have no hope of keeping up with the bike. I'm still pedaling, but it's just out of habit. And we're getting up to like I said, it creeps up to its top speed. It's getting up to about 27.8, 27.9 on the built-in speedometer, and it's capping out right around 26 on GPS. And realistically, this is about where it caps out. But once you get it up here, it really doesn't take much power to keep it here. Now, like I said, I'm just ghost pedaling, but once these wheels start turning, if you got a good open straightaway like this, you can just go and go and go, and it really makes good It's really good battery life economy. I'm going to lock the brakes up. This thing doesn't have the best brakes, but they're adequate. That's another reason I really wouldn't ride this bike as a city commuter. To me, this is definitely built for these kinds of trails, and you can come out and ride these kinds of trails all day. I'm going to leave it in pedal assist level 5 now, and I'm just going to do a rollback on the throttle. So as you can see, it's a very mild takeoff, but the bike's not built for torque. It's made for, you know, riding these trails and maintaining speed. But once you get rolling, it does a pretty good job. One thing I can do is we can go down a few gears, and if we want some good torque, we can help the bike take off. I'm going to take off from a stop. I'm in like third over here and second over here, so I don't know what gear that is, but here we go. It definitely takes off a lot harder when you give it a little help to take off, but this is basically a cruising bike. It's not a torquey bike for sure. So I don't really have a whole lot else to say about the bike. It's a pretty plain Jane bike in a good way. It's got all the basics that you need. It gets the job done, and you know, it's pretty simple. I really like that about the bike. There's not much else I would change about it, but there are a few things. But the things that I would change about it are pretty simple. I would put a wider, more comfortable seat on the bike for all-day rides. If you're going to ride it under 15 or 20 miles for a trip, you're probably going to be fine, but any longer than that, your butt is going to be craving a more comfortable seat for sure. I personally would probably put wider handlebars on it for longer all-day riding. They're plenty comfortable enough. I've got the handlebar adjustment raised up right now and tilted back and pulled back, so I'm in a very comfortable upright riding position. You can lay that down for a more aggressive riding position. Basically, it's up to you, and I like that we've got that option. I like that we got the rack on the back for handy, convenient all-day riding. This thing is basically made for the long haul, and I do like that about it. So who is this bike for? Again, people who want to do long all-day rides. It's not for people who want that zippy takeoff. This is more of a maintained, sustained speed ride bike, not a get up and go bike, and it's not made for short riders. Other than that, I think most people, if you're tall enough to ride it, you're going to have a really good time riding this bike. I don't think this is for your get up and go city commuters. I think this is definitely geared towards your trail riders. You could ride it in town on roads, but I think it's definitely made more for rides like this. Anyway, I think that wraps up just about everything I got to say about the bike. I'm going to throw my range tests in at the end of the video if you want to watch them, but everything that I've needed to say about the bike, I've said right here. Pretty good bike, pretty good price, and good all-rounder. That's it for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. And it is indeed raining, so I might have to either go back and continue this range test later, because really I've talked about everything the bike can do. We've gone through all the speed levels. It's a plain Jane basic bike. That's not a bad thing, but there's not really much else to talk about now other than range. So I either continue the range test or I go back and do it another day. Normally I do my range test at a lot lower speed, around 15 miles per hour, but with this bike having a 17.5 amp hour battery, I might just crank it up and do a full speed range test today and do it in like 14 miles. So why not? I almost never do it that way, but let's do it that way today. And I almost never do it that way because of range anxiety. I don't want to get partially out on a trip and run out of battery and have to pedal the rest of the way home. Though this bike, I'm not worried about it. This bike's lightweight enough that if I do run out of battery, I'm gonna be all right pedaling this bike. So yeah, let's just do it that way. I'm gonna do a balls to the wall, worst case scenario range test. Probably not full range. I'm gonna ride the bike at 14 miles at top speed, and when we get back, we're gonna see how much battery life we've got left, and that's gonna be our range test. I'll tell you, this bike feels fast because it does have the tall tires. And another thing with the big battery and the tall tires and the lightweight, it should make for very efficient range. We shall see though. So far, with a 48 volt, 17.5 amp hour battery, 1000 watt motor, and a lightweight frame, I gotta say, yeah, I think this is a very niche bike. You know, it's a bike that is built for trail riding like this, and making the most out of your range, because once you get these big wheels rolling, they are very efficient. Getting these big wheels rolling poses a little bit more of a challenge for the motor and electrical system than after you got the bike rolling. Once you get it rolling though, they just like to go. To that point though, once you get them rolling, they don't want to stop either. That's why this thing having line-driven disc brakes, you know, that's one of the things they cheaped out on. It's good enough for trails like this, but I don't know if I'd trust it in like city traffic. I think you need a little bit more stopping power for that. Overall though, I mean, this bike is a joy to ride. It's for casual riding. I feel good on it. I'm digging it. I really like it a lot. And these big tall wheels go right over the bumps and dips in the road, and they do a really good job of absorbing how rough this ride is, especially as fast as I've been going. Okay, so we're at 10.5 miles on our built-in odometer, 8.3 miles on our GPS trip, and we're still at 5 bars. I did see it peak down to 4 bars out of 5, but I've been running this bike hard. So I'm headed back home now, and it's going to be a little under 8 miles to get back. So by the time we get there, we should have a little over 16 miles, and we're going to check what our battery life looks like after running this bike hard for 16 miles. So far, I'm feeling pretty good about it. Here we go. All right, here we are back at the beginning of the ride. We went 16.1 miles according to GPS. According to the built-in odometer, 18.8 miles, but we got to knock a mile off of that because I had a mile on there before I started today. But we are at 2 bars out of 5 left on the battery, and I ran this thing hard for 16 miles. And I normally don't ride a bike like that, but today I was racing the rain, so I wanted to get this over with and get back. So yeah, 2 bars out of 5. I would say that if you ride this bike mindfully on trails like this, and you weigh what I weigh, 200 pounds, and you're riding mindfully around 15 miles per hour, you could easily get 40 miles out of this battery. There's a lot to be said for that 17.5 amp hour battery, and overall I think you're getting a really good deal for the price that you pay for this bike, even though it does have its shortcomings. You know, a 17.5 amp hour battery is a lot of stored energy, so being able to get that kind of range out of this bike in riding it as hard as I rode it, that's pretty impressive, especially at this price point. So normally I ramble on about my final thoughts, but you know, those are my final thoughts. Thanks for watching. That's it for now, and I'll see you next time. And as I'm packing the bike up, after it sat for a minute, it came up to 3 bars, but that doesn't count. All right, I got our trip reset to 0. Here we go. All right, we're just past the 8 mile mark. I've been riding in pedal assist level 3, 16 miles per hour, and we're still at 5 out of 5 bars. So nothing to do but keep going. What I am going to do, because I plan on riding a really long way, is I'm going to loosen this up and bring the handlebars back because this is going to be a pretty long ride today, and that's going to add to some comfort for me. All right, we just ticked over 21 miles, and I've been riding the bike in pedal assist level 3, maintaining a very steady 16 miles per hour. Again, I weigh 200 pounds. The bike weighs 50 pounds, and it's a 17.5 amp hour battery, and as you can see, we are still at 5 bars. Now, does that mean that this bike is at 100% battery life? Absolutely not. And does that mean that we're going to get 20 miles per battery bar? Again, absolutely not. This bike is not going to get 100 miles the way I've been riding it. I think once the battery starts dropping, it's really going to start dropping fast. But I have more than enough faith in that it's going to get us back to the beginning, which is going to be right around 40 miles. So let's turn around and head back because really, by the time we get back, my butt is going to be beyond done. All right, well, I got all excited because I wanted to show you that it dropped one battery bar and it just ticked over 25 miles. But after I stopped pedaling and came to a complete stop, it went back up to 5 bars. So we're going to consider this 4 bars now at 25 miles. All right, 35 miles on the dot, and I got to stop for a minute and give my butt a break. The bike is fine. That seat, for long rides like this, it really needs to be changed out for something wider and with thicker padding, but for most rides, it's going to be fine. This is kind of an insane amount of riding in one sitting. But as you can see, 35 miles, we've dropped 2 bars. So will it make it another 35 miles with those 3 bars? Likely not. It's going to start dropping a lot faster. We're not going to get 70 miles out of this bike, but I have no doubt in my mind that it'll go 50. We're not going to go 50 today. We've only got maybe 5 more miles to get back to the beginning of the trail, and that's going to be enough for me. That's where I'm going to be done. But yeah, 35 miles, 2 bars of battery is what it costs us to do that. 3 bars left. All right, back to the beginning of the ride. We're at 41.4 miles. That costs us 3 bars. We've got 2 bars out of 5 left. So that is pretty efficient in my book. And that's the great thing about this bike is with those 29-inch wheels, once you get them moving, once you get them rolling, they're easy to keep rolling. They're not super fat, they're not super wide, but they are wide enough to be comfortable. And they've got like a gravel tread on them. You could go maybe an even smoother tread and make them slightly even more efficient. I don't really see the need for it because this bike did a great job as it was. If we were to continue, would we get 50 miles? Most likely, absolutely yes. Would we get 60 miles? That's where I think probably not. We're probably going to get about 55 miles. That is, if you weigh 200 pounds like I do, and you ride it in pedal assist level 3 on a steady trail with few stops at 16 miles per hour in assist level 3. But that, I think, is a pretty good range test.